Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another dressage and show jumping pole exercise. However, this time we do actually make them into jumps as well. As you've noticed, we have a ginger monster in the arena today. This is Arty, who is a 10-year-old Irish sport horse. Grandfather was cruising, so Arty does have a little bit of a quirky nature. He has also been plagued with injury over the past few years, so he's done very little. He's sort of got a 4 to 5-year-old mentality. He did a little bit of competition as a 5-year-old and pretty much not much else after that. So you'll see that he's quite green. He's lacking some top line, but this is why this exercise is going to be so good for him. His issues are that he generally tends to run at his fences. He gets very flat, quite long in the frame, and he finds it very hard to adjust. He's a powerful jumper and he's actually got a great jump on him, but he finds it very hard to shorten. So as always, I am starting off in walk, making sure that he has a nice walk around and spending some time walking over the poles, because as you well know, the most beneficial pace to do pole work in is walk. And this exercise lends itself perfectly to helping horses to, one, think for themselves, to stay straight, but also to help them keep a really good balanced rhythm in between the poles and to not rush. And the good thing is, even in walk here, I'm just trying to leave him to it. I want him to think about where he's putting his feet and for him to look at what he's doing. I don't want him to just charge through stuff. So now that he's picked up the trot, you can see he's a little bit choppy. I quite often nickname him an ironing board because he does lack bend and suppleness. I think because he is strong and he does have a lot of Irish draft in him, he just doesn't find bending that easy. Also, his conformation is not brilliant. He is very backside high, got a big old bottom on him that sticks up in the air. So naturally, he is very downhill. And you'll see that he does carry his neck and head quite low at times. He can't help it. But we can improve it. So through this, I'm just trying to make sure he stays straight. I'm keeping my leg on to support him. But I'm not interfering. I don't want to make too many adjustments myself. I want him to make the adjustments because he is thinking for himself. So here, just making sure you can see there, quite tricky to turn, but it's not awful. And you can see that he is starting to naturally shorten himself up a little bit. So the exercise is already having an effect on him. He's not rushing, which is great. And he's keeping a nice balanced rhythm. So nothing is changing currently. He's staying in the same rhythm from pole to pole. So we picked up the canter now, which was jolly tricky for him. He found this really hard. His balance got all over the place. You can see there, because of my arena being very tight, it's only a 30 by 30, it does make turning in here tricky. And he was finding it really hard to stay straight and have a nice turn. And the thing with that is that if he can do a change, you can see there after the pole, but quite often he would then cut the corner. So I didn't mind if he didn't change leg, but at least he stayed straight. So here you can see, look, I didn't change him, but he did at least stay straight. And doing extra transitions is only helpful anyway. So if you've got a younger horse, I think you're better off adding a few extra transitions to help them. You can see he sort of really can open up very quickly in his stride. So I want him to try and learn to stay in a much more shorter canter stride and not to accelerate in between the poles. And also to try and stay in a better rhythm. He's a little bit all over the place. So we've now raised 2 of the jumps. And I've brought him back to trot because, again, I just want him to figure out the exercise. I don't want to rush him or overface him. I just want him to think for himself, work out his footing. So again, I'm just trying to leave him to it, keep him straight. There you can see, takes off a bit early, but that's absolutely fine. He's thinking for himself, and that's all that's important. And you can see after the jump there, he then clattered the 2 canter poles afterwards, just because he never readjusted himself. He didn't come back. He just stayed in this very flat canter. And you can just see how open he is across his back and neck. So he's not really sitting on his hocks and engaging them. So obviously it's really important with any sort of grid work or pole exercise to give them a really good breather in between bits. It's hard work for them, especially if they're a youngster. But any horse, they need a break. They need to have a bit of catch their breath, bit of chill time, relax over their back again before you start again. As you can see, he's a real marcher. When he's walking, he walks. He means it. And you can imagine at a show, he marches around the car park. So we're back out in the canter again, and you can already see he has actually improved. So that little bit of a break has just helped him. And what's lovely there is, even though it wasn't the best jump, he actually took a deeper stride. So rather than just launching himself at it, he put in a slightly shorter stride. And you can see the canter around the top of the school there. He is starting to just collect himself. So yes, he made a mistake and came back to trot, but he was balanced enough to pop straight back into canter, and then actually came out through the poles very nicely. Again here, you can just see he is starting to shorten. He's starting to collect. Yes, he has to still do a transition, but look how easily he's popping into canter now. So that hind leg is starting, the hind legs are starting to come under a little bit more. The canter is becoming shorter and more balanced. Again, they managed to fit in. This last bit I was so pleased about, because compared to him at the beginning of this video, now look at the canter. So much more together, so much more balanced. The turns have improved, and he's waiting. So he does the poles and then he waits in the canter. So rather than lengthening and rushing, he's now sitting and waiting. So he is starting to be able to adjust that canter stride. And he comes through it for a final time. And I was, even though you'll see in a second, this lovely canter pops in, just what I want. He does catch the poles here, but do you know what? He still stays balanced. He doesn't panic about it. And this canter around the top, he's coming much more over the back. The hind legs are coming under him more. He's waiting, and he waits, and he pops. And that's what we've been looking for the whole way through this exercise. So obviously now just giving him a bit of a cool down. But as I said, this exercise is brilliant for all types of horses, all riders. You can make it harder or easier depending on the horse's ability, but it's a good one to have a play around with. And I was really chuffed with the results. When I watched back over the video, I thought, gosh, it really helped him. And that last bit of canter work just showed that he could collect and he could adjust the way he went. So I couldn't have been happier. So have a play, see how you guys get on.